Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gaming Silicon video. We're going to be talking about Microsoft and the Xbox, as well as some Windows 10 stuff as well. A whole slew of information has popped up over the past 24 or so hours, and we're going to be talking about new Xbox hardware. We're going to be talking about a potential E3 2016 games lineup. Those two things are rumoured, but the first thing we're going to really have to discuss is the fact that Microsoft have put the Xbox One TV DVR on hold indefinitely. So, in short, don't be thinking that this is going to be coming back to the Xbox or they're going to focus on it anytime soon. Now, remember, back in August, they did decide to announce that they were working on this. They unveiled their plans, but according to The Verge, and this is a quote, "After careful consideration, we've decided to put the development of DVR for over-the-air TV on hold to focus our attention on new, higher fan-requested gaming experiences across the Xbox One and Windows 10. We're always listening to fan feedback, and we look forward to bringing more requested experience to the Xbox One, Windows 10, and Xbox Live later this year." End quote. Now, this is probably going to upset some people and please others. My personal standpoint on this, from a usage point of view, is thus follows. I don't really care. I'm a cord cutter. I very, 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 very rarely watch television that is not Netflix, Amazon Prime, or some such service, because it's just a pain in the butt for me. I like to consume things as and when. And so this feature, would I have ever used it even? Maybe just out of curiosity's sake to say, hey, let's see what happens, but not really on a day-to-day basis. It's something that I would say, hey, that's kind of cool, but then just never realistically use it, even monthly, let alone daily or weekly. But for some folks, they possibly made a decision to buy an Xbox based upon this, and it sucks if that is the case. Now, from the standpoint of this, hopefully we can learn a valuable lesson. And I know this is probably not going to make you happy, but you should never buy hardware based upon a promise that's going to happen at some point. If they give you a date that something's going to happen, if they say, hey, in a month's time, a week's time, we're going to launch X, that's different. But to buy something on the promise, especially when it's quite expensive, that, you know, eventually we'll release this thing, it's never a good idea. And to be honest with you, I've been burned by this a couple of times myself with various pieces of hardware or various services, and it just absolutely sucks. But I don't blame Microsoft in a way, because I guess it's like, if they don't feel that their audience really wants this, and they've only got a certain number of man-hours to dedicate towards this, and they feel that that development time could instead go to improving, let's say, the entire ecosystem for gaming, then that's, by golly, what they should do. Once again, though, I do feel bad for people who really wanted the feature, and it always sucks when something that you want just doesn't come to fruition. Okay, moving away from the announcements and the doom and gloom, not that I think that's a particularly bad thing anyway. Once again, I'm not, I don't actually mind this announcement too much, if I'm totally honest. But anyway, let's talk about more cheerful stuff, E3. More specifically, games lineup and hardware. So, Microsoft are going to have a very solid lineup. That's according to Shinobi602, who is a pretty well-known industry insider. And he's been backed up by multiple different sources over the past week or two. It's kind of funny because Microsoft previously had done a really good job at keeping leaks secret. I mean, really good. Even the Scorpio leaked quite late. It leaked even after the PS4K. Maybe that's because theoretically the hardware is further along, or not so far along rather, in development. Regardless of all of that, we should be seeing such games as State of Decay 2, Halo Wars 2, Gears of War 4, which is pretty obvious, Sea of Thieves, Scalebound, the next Dead Rising, Crackdown 3, and many of those titles are going to see a release on Windows 10. In fact, the rumours have it that almost all of those are eventually going to pop out to Windows 10. Which is kind of cool. And I'm actually all for that, and it does once again go to the unification point of view of Microsoft, that where they want to make the Xbox almost like a platform where you can use their software, where you can use their services, rather than, hey, this is the Xbox, hey, this is the PC, and have them as almost separate entities, which they very much were. I mean, if you were to cast your mind back to, let's say, 2007, 2008, the Xbox 360 and the PC were very much different. They were almost completely different ecosystems. And Microsoft at times have tried things like Games for Windows Live and all of this stuff, but it just didn't work. And Microsoft do have still a ways to go. For example, with UWP and all of that stuff. But I kind of like it. Anyway, what about hardware? Because I also mentioned that. Well, Ekim, who is another industry insider, has claimed that Microsoft will be debuting another Xbox One design at E3 2016. They did not mention Scorpio, which of course is the drastically more powerful hardware from Microsoft. Instead, they are referring to almost like a slimline model of the Xbox One. But it does have some advantages over the base model. So, obviously the fact that it's going to be smaller, but it's also going to contain an internalized power supply. Personally, that's not a big deal for me. I don't mind an external power supply, but I guess for the sake of neatness, it is kind of nice. The biggest benefit, though, is the ability to play games, or rather movies, at certain resolutions. Now, that probably means 4K support for Blu-ray, that type of stuff. And it means that theoretically the console should be able to output a higher resolution. That does not mean games will natively run at higher resolution, and it does not mean that this is a Neo situation. I just want to clarify. So it's going to, from what I'm reading, it's going to purely, solely affect the movie experience. I wouldn't be surprised if that also lended itself to Netflix and other streaming services as well. And honestly, I think that's a good option. Microsoft, in my opinion, are embracing the fact that cable television is dying. I mean, Microsoft are a smart company, and as a Sony, they know that the way you and I, are consuming content is changing really fast. I mean, do some Googling yourselves on how fast people are abandoning their traditional, cable services, and they're moving towards the Netflix and other such services. It's really crazy, and I think Microsoft know this, and that's probably one of the reasons they gave up the DVR service, because they just said, hey, we can add this now, but in 3, 4, 5 years' time, the amount of customers who do care now are going to certainly be a lot less. Let me know what your thoughts are on this one. Are you pissed about the whole DVR thing? Do you not care? And what about the Xbox Slim? Like, would you jump onto the Xbox now? Or would you wait for Scorpio? Or is the Slim with 4K Blu-ray / possibly streaming support enough to convince you? Or does it all come down to the games lineup at E3? I think this E3 is going to be bloody stellar. No matter which way of the fence you lie, to be honest, whether you're a PC gamer or if you're an Xbox gamer, whether you're a Sony gamer, I think it's going to be a pretty interesting couple of days. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.